Hello guys, welcome back to another video and another one on the BMW 760 Ally today. We're going to be giving it a bit of a service. So we've got some fresh new oil, a new oil filter and some other little bits and bobs as well. Now if you guys saw the previous video where I changed out the oil, supposedly it was the first oil change in around 40,000 miles. Now looking back at the video, you know, the quality of the oil, taking into consideration some of you guys' thoughts as well, I really don't know if that was the case. It's more than likely that one of the previous owners just, you know, done an oil change herself but didn't record it on the service history. But I did say that I was going to run the car for a couple of weeks and then do another oil change and put a better quality oil filter in. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I think I've done literally about another 100 miles in it. But it's, you know, a good amount of miles to get the oil flowing and all that, and let it really do its thing. Now I'm kind of expecting the oil to come out nearly, you know, brand new, because it's covered 100 miles, so it really shouldn't be that dark at all. But it is going to be interesting to see, you know, if there is any discoloration in the oil. And we are going to be doing another engine flush as well. And again, we're going to be using this manual motor flush. I really do like this stuff. I've used it a bunch of times now, never had an issue with it. And yeah, it seems to do the job quite well. And we also have a new MAN oil filter to go in as well. I've found that there really is not much difference in terms of quality between MAN, Bosch and Marley. So if you have either one of those three, then you pretty much are going to be golden. Now we also have this as well. You might be thinking, is this another oil filter? No, it's not an oil filter. It is actually the oil filter cap. So this is brand new, and this is the genuine one. So the OEM manufacturer for this oil cap is Hengst, which is a German manufacturer. And the only reason that I bought this was for the screw in the top. So I mentioned on the previous video that I wanted to replace this. I thought I may as well just replace the whole unit. Wasn't too expensive, but yeah, this is going to get swapped out today as well. We also have a new sump plug, so that's going to get swapped out at the same time as well. And then we also have a seal here. Now this seal is actually for the oil level sensor. Now I haven't really been getting the issue as of late, but a few weeks ago I was noticing that when I was driving I was getting the oil level below minimum come up on the iDrive, and yeah, I obviously then went and checked the oil level, and the oil level was fine. It was at the maximum. So we don't have any major oil leaks. I don't think we have any oil leaks, to be honest. But I think that the sensor may be a bit temperamental. Now, before I shell out and, you know, replace a 100 to 200 pound sensor, I thought I may as well remove it, inspect it, see if there's anything visually wrong with it, give it a little bit of a clean up, and then re-seal it with the correct seal. And yeah, and then see if we have any success with that, really. But yeah, I think without further ado, we'll get outside and let's get cracking. So then, as you can see, the car is now ready up in the air, so I think we should get this thing fired up so we can get the engine up to operating temperature. So we need to get the engine up to operating temperature, and then we can go ahead and add our engine flush. Okay, so the engine is now nice and warm. It's time to remove the oil filler cap and then start adding our engine flush. So if you're wondering what engine flush looks like, this is it. It just looks like a very, very thin oil. So let's just pour this straight in. Every last drop counts. Put the filler cap back on, and then get the engine fired up and let it idle for 10 to 15 minutes or so. Okay then, so while the engine flush kind of does its thing, I want to just give a massive shout out to a company called Lubridge Lubricants. Now, if you've never heard of them before, they're pretty much the biggest supplier of Manol products here in the UK. Now, if you know me, you'll know that I absolutely rave about the Manol oil, and this is it right here. So this is their Manol 7908. This is what I use in all of my BMWs. It meets the LL04 BMW specification, and I've never had an issue with this stuff, and it is ridiculously cheap as well. Now, I've bought from these guys for the past year or so now, and I've never had an issue with any of my items. You know, always been delivered on time, always had good customer service and all that. So I decided to get in touch with them and see if they would, you know, see if they would be interested in supplying the channel, you know, with some products going forward in the future. And they said they would like to send out this little kit here, and yeah, see what I think really. Now, I wasn't expecting quite all of this. I was just expecting, you know, maybe just some oil, but I'll show you what they've sent. So they've sent 10 litres of oil, which will definitely come in handy. That's how much, pretty much how much we need for today's oil change. They've also sent out some gear oil, some 75 W90, which will come in handy for when I do the differential. They've sent out some screen wash, which, let's be honest, you can't have enough screen wash. They've sent out these ester additives. I think it's like an oil additive. I don't know how much I'm going to be using these. I don't really agree with, you know, needing to add anything to your oil. If it's the correct grade and specification, your oil should be good enough, but I guess I'll probably try these out at some point in the future. They've sent out the engine flush. You know, I use this stuff all the time, never had an issue with it, so definitely come in handy. They've sent out a couple of filters as well. So we have a cabin filter, a fuel filter, and an oil filter. I've actually already replaced all of those, but if we decide to do them again, then they'll definitely come in handy. We have like a power bank here. This is like a USB power bank, I think, to like maybe charge your phone off and things like that. Now, guys, I didn't even know Manol done this, you know, wide range of products. I just thought they'd done oil and maybe like oil filters, but they do things like, you know, these power banks, and we have magnetic phone holders as well, which will come in handy because I don't even have a phone holder in any of my cars, and they kindly sent out 2 of those. And then we have some parts cleaner. It's essentially brake cleaner. You can't have enough of that stuff. And then we have some of this M40 lubricant, which I've already used a bunch already, and yeah, it works very, very well. It's not like WD-40, which is just a water displacement. This actually helps to release the tightest of bolts, and yeah, it's done the job quite well so far. So yeah, massive shout out to Lubridge Lubricants. I will of course leave links down in the description box below. So yeah, go check them out and let them know that I sent you. So I've let the engine idle for 10-15 minutes or so. It's now time to switch it off. I'm just going to release the oil filler cap just so we don't have any vacuum, and pull out the dipstick as well. There we go. And now let's head underneath the car. Okay, so we're under the car now, and I've actually already removed the sump guard. It's just had in by the 560mm bolt. So it's not necessary to remove that just to do an oil and filter change, but because I need to access the oil level sensor, yeah, it's just going to give me better access to do so. So first thing we need to do then, oh, and by the way, if you can see some dripping over there, it's not the transmission pan that's dripping. I did have to go check that myself. It's actually just water, so don't worry about that. But yeah, first thing we need to do is drain the oil filter itself. So it just has a 6mm Allen bolt in, so hopefully, because I taught this up properly, should not be too tight. There we are. I actually have a proper drain pan this time, not a container that is going to overflow. This should hold 10 litres as well. We've got drippage, and there we go. I'm just surprised at how dark the oil is. I guess though, it's going to be dark if the engine flush is kind of done its job, because any contaminants, you know, any sludge in the engine oil flush will actually, you know, break that down, and hopefully that's what you can see coming out now. So that's pretty much finished draining. I'm now going to reinsert the drain plug for the oil filter, and now I'm going to drain the oil itself. Yeah, I'm just going to drop this in the pan because I don't need it now. It's the original sump plug. Lovely. Okay, I'm actually going to put the sump plug back in just to stop it dripping while I remove the oil filter. So to crack the oil filter loose, it's a 24mm socket. Again, it shouldn't be tight because it should only be 25 Newton meters. Yep. And we'll just drop this down into the pan. Then we can pull the oil filter itself out. It always stays in the housing. There we go. Yeah, that one does not look nowhere near as bad as the old one. Obviously this is only a couple of 100 miles, but the old one was like black and nasty and crushed. But this one seems to have held up. And again, I'm just going to reinstall the oil filter cap just to stop it from dripping. Obviously we still have to remove the level sensor yet. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do then is just disconnect the electrical connector on it. That just slides off. You just push these two tabs together, and I will be cleaning both the sensor side and this plug side up as well with some electrical contact clean, just to see if it is an electrical fault, because it's definitely not a, you know, full-time fault. It's definitely an intermittent fault, so that leads me to believe that the sensor is not bad. Yeah, these would be only done up to about, if I had to guess, I don't know, 10-15 Newton meters. These are not tight, these nuts. It's the seal that does all of the sealing anyway. And 3 nuts removed. Now with any luck, this should just, oh yeah, there we go, pull out the sump. Okay, so this is what the level sensor looks like then. As you can see, that's that seal there on the bottom that we will be replacing. But yeah, there really doesn't look like to be a huge lot to it, so I'm guessing our oil goes through the top there and then somehow measures the amount that's in there. But yeah, it's definitely not a complex sensor, so yeah, we'll give this a good clean up. Again, like I said, we'll clean the electrical contacts as well, put a new seal on, and then this can go back in. And there we go then, I gave it a good clean up, smeared it in oil, installed the new O-ring, that's the old one there. Yeah, it's time to put it back on the car. So let's push this into position then. I have gave the face a good clean up as well. Okay, so we have our oil level sensor into position now, and I've connected the electrical connector back onto it as well. I'm now going to install our new sump plug with new copper washer into the sump. It's the moment of truth. Did I buy the right size? I think so. Yeah. Before we install our new oil filter, just going to give the oil filter housing a quick clean out. Now right here we have our new oil filter and new oil filter cap. No need to change any of the O-rings on this occasion because we have a new O-ring on the oil filter cap, and we have the new smaller O-ring for this bolt here. So all we need to do now then is push this into position and twist it on. And then finally we can torque this down to 25 Newton meters. And we can also torque down the sump plug now as well. That is also 25 Newton meters. Then I'm also going to torque down the 3 oil level sensor nuts to 10 Newton meters. Now I'm just going to give everything a quick clean up. And now it's time to start filling this thing back up again. So this engine takes around 9 litres, but I'm going to put around 8 litres in first, then check the dipstick and then see where we're at, and we can add more oil accordingly. That's around 5 litres in then. Okay, so I've put around 8 litres in so far. I'm just going to check the dipstick now to see what that is showing us. So dipstick is showing us just below the maximum. It's around there. So I'm just going to put a little bit more in, and that should be good enough to fire up then. That should do it. Sounds sweet as a nut. No oil pressure warning lights, which is always good. And we'll switch it off. I'll just give that a good few minutes, let the oil drain back down into the sump, and then we'll go ahead and check the level again. And as we can see, 0 leaks under here of any kind, which is always good. Okay, so I let the oil drain down for a few minutes, checked again, and we was just above the minimum, then added another around half a litre, and now we're just below the maximum. So this is pretty much job done. Okay then guys, that is the service done on the BMW 760 Li. So fresh oil filter, we removed the oil level sensor, gave that a clean and put a new O-ring on it. We also replaced the oil filter housing cap as well. That comes with a new drain plug. And then we fitted a new sump drain plug as well. That is another job done for now then. I will leave links down below for all of the parts that I've used in this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Please give this video a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already done so, and I will see you all in that next one. Peace!